Okay, Elder John, it's an honor to have you here. We come from the same clan, so I was really excited when I heard John was going to be here today, and I always like to thank our elders. Without our elders and their teachings, none of us would know where we're going, what we're doing with our futures. So I want to start out here. I want y'all to say, okay, hello, Damakaskanatini. Good job. Happy morning. Happy morning. That's what that means. As you've been told, I am Crystal Manyfingers. I'm the Indigenous consultant to curriculum here at Bow Valley College. I started out with foundational learning, and I started my work with Indigenous students in the LES department and some in high school. I got to work with the Indigenous upgrading people. Alex McDonald, she hired me. Give her a round of applause. I just want to say thank you very much for the honor that I was so totally surprised to receive last week at the PD session. I thought this is a real great shot at reconciliation. An elder told me, I said, how do I introduce myself? He says, you need to tell where you come from. So here I go. I come from the Kainai First Nation. I am a member of the Fish Eater clan, the Mamioi clan, which John is a part of as well. Our nation is the largest in Canada, land-based wise. I think we're looking at 12,000 members right now. So in Canada, we are the largest. My paternal grandparents are Morris Manyfingers and Annie Pace. Annie Pace was a sole survivor at Baker's Massacre. Her mother was forced to jump over a ravine with her and her twin son. They had twins. Her father was Fred Pace. Fred Pace was an insurance agent from Lloyd's of London. So believe it or not, I have European roots in me. So, I can say about those colonizers, because I might be one of them, right? But, like the Baker's Massacre happened 150 years ago, last month in 1870. Two worlds colliding. Talk about Major Eugene Baker was told, don't attack that camp because they're just women and children. He didn't listen. He attacked them. This is in northern Montana. My great grandmother actually jumped over and then made her way back into Canada, where she met up with her Blackfoot relatives just north, south of the U.S. border. But, it was a hard time for that. Many stories have been told about the Baker's Massacre. It's something that the U.S. Army, they come in, they take, and they destroyed our people. They tried to destroy our people. And this story that I tell, it has been told in many plays, because there are many of us who are descendants of Fred and Annie Pace. So I really am proud of that. Also, my maternal grandparents are Stephen Fox and Cecilia Lastar. Cecilia Lastar, she came from Upspeebegani, just on the south end of the U.S. border. Noella Wells, who isn't here today, but she's the director of our center, she tells me she's from Begani, but the U.S. border split their tribe. So obviously Begani was my relatives. So I'm just going to award John with a copy of my book there. Not trying to plug anything away, but here. My father's name is Wallace Manyfingers. My father was very handsome when he was a young boy. The night of his funeral, Roy Weaselfat, chairperson, president of Red Crow College, who was his best friend, told me, do you know why they called your dad Capone? And I said, not really. I often wondered. He goes, well, that's another story for another time. And I will tell you someday. John knows my father very well. So, and my mother is Dr. Helen Manyfingers. She went to the residential school as well. She spent a long time there. And, despite all of the hardships they had, she managed to come out. She came out, finished her time We don't say school at the residential school. We said she did her time. It's like a prison. That's what I was taught. So she came out and she was a janitor at the local Indian day school, Father Laverne School. She got tired of sweeping floors, mopping floors, cleaning toilets. So she decided, I'm going to go back to school. She went to the University of Lethbridge. She eventually got her Bachelor of Education degree in music, classical music. So I grew up with classical music. She got awarded the Queen's Jubilee Medal. And in the year 2000, she was awarded the Order of Canada. Big shoes to fill. I was at the ceremony, and I'll tell you, the Governor General's residence, Rideau Hall, is just like walking into the Buckingham Palace. It's so awesome. It was really, really an experience that I will always cherish for the rest of my life and my kids. This is our territory, the Blackfoot Niitawatophii. You heard our elders talk about, look at the land base. We extend all the way down to Yellowstone National Park, all the way east to the Sand Hills, north to Saskatchewan. Well, there are stories that we are further than the Battle River, and then west along the Rocky Mountains. You will see that. I asked Clarence Wolfleg, one of our distinguished elders, why did they call us Blackfoot? He said, well, during the time when in the summer, sometimes the earth would get so hot that they had to start fires because the brush was getting too high and they needed to know where their trails were. So we would start fires, controlled fires, and other nations that we'd come across, they would see our black moccasins because we're walking on ash. Therefore, Blackfoot. The Blackfoot people have been in this land for thousands of years. So why am I here? Why are we here today? Our journey. What is our journey? My biggest point here is, how do we live together in a good way? How do we bring many nations, many cultures, many people from all different colors together? Because, in today's political climate, I changed my topic. I tell my friends, I change every day. Every morning I'd watch the news. What do I say? They're going to laugh me off the stage, or they'll boo me off the stage. I don't know what's going to happen. So it's a really very volatile time right now. But, together, nation building. You see the Canadian flag. You see the Treaty 7 flag, the provincial government of Alberta flag, and the Métis flag. I think this is one of the biggest signs of reconciliation the city of Calgary has ever done, because they're bringing together all the nations, and all of us in this room are under some or more of those authorities. So, I think in that way, a picture says 1,000 words. Nation building. Two worlds colliding. I told you the story about Eugene Baker and the Baker's Massacre. This picture on the left is one of the oldest photos I could ever find. They didn't have cameras in our traditional days. That's Henry Lastar and his wife. It's one of the only pictures I have of great-grandparents. They're in their culture. This is pre-colonization. They're in their culture. They're living it peaceful, respect, embedded, proud to be Blackfoot. The picture on the middle is when my mother was coming out of residential school. You see her in the dark brown dress. She's looking down because her buttons were crooked. And you see how she was raised. Despite the horrors that happened to our people in the residential school, she didn't let that stop her. And so there's a picture of her receiving the Order of Canada from Adrienne Clarkson. So, what are we saying here when I talk about worldviews? Well, the one on the left, if you look at the circle on the left, is Indigenous worldviews from all over the world. Things like collectiveness, sharing. Time is seasonal. Like I'll be celebrating my 50th spring. Anybody that really knows me knows that's not true. He's a little older, but it's close. Time is always turning. The earth is always turning. Linearly, in another worldview, I look at the capitalist side. It's you wake up in the morning, you go to work, do your job, and then you go check out, and then you go home. Next day, what do you do again? No, it was linear, right? And then you die. Well, right, we're all going to die. You know what? I told Marjorie, my friend, who's here today. Thank you, Marjorie. Good supporter. I love her. You were talking about the coronavirus about happening. I says, you know what? If it happens, well, I had a good run. She thought that was pretty funny. So, anyways, worldviews. The one on the right is a little bit different, and I'm not going to say European, Eurocentric, Western. It's all about individualism, and we all have these values. We all need to support our children, pay the bills, get a roof. Wealth is accumulated. Law of man takes precedence over nature. It's in the form of a triangle where man is on top. Underneath him are the animals. Underneath them are the plants and water. Underneath the ground is the minerals, the resources. So that domain is something that we differ. That's where we differ. And that's why we say worlds colliding. There is a space in the middle, however, which we like to call, and elders like Reggie Crochew, Dr. Crochew, Willie Ermine, they talk about ethical space. How do we create ethical space? How do we do that? What is it? What is a worldview? What does that mean? And how do we understand that everything we do around us affects who we are and what we do? So that little part in the middle is what I like to call ethical space. I talked about the animals. An elder told me I'm taking a course at the University of Calgary on the Blackfoot culture because I want to hear from the elders, their stories. I said, what does that mean? Tom King has a book called All Our Relations. Anybody heard of that? Hopefully, some of you. Jennifer, I know you have. So, all our relations, what is that? All our relations, he said, was when you wake up back in the day when you were riding and you were walking in the land and you say, all my relations, and you point at everything around you, the animals, the trees, the water, everything, the land. Those are your relations, Crystal. Don't forget that. They're there to be. They're precious to us. Anishinaabeg teachings tell us that all of these Kawabuma guys, they have their own values that they're there to teach us. I'm just going to read something that Tahira showed me with. I wanted to share that. It is here when we bring worldviews together, bringing the Western science technology in with the indigenous ways of worldviews and sharing the land, it can be done. Look at ways like Swiss engineer George Mestral. He discovered while he was hunting that there was a weed called the humbleweed, inspired the invention of Velcro. Modern bullet trains are modeled after the tropical bird fighters. Get that aerodynamics going. We're modeling stuff like that. Ants we're looking at ants and how we can model those to robots, right? So it's a lot of work. I love to share more of this information with you, but envisioning nations together, working together, taking the best of both, and removing those capitalist, we need to accumulate wealth. It's a long time to come through. Why do I call this Citizens Plus? All of us are Citizens Plus. The red paper was introduced by the chiefs of the First Nations in response to Pierre Trudeau's white paper. So the white paper chose to try to annihilate our treaty rights here. We had a treaty right with the Queen of England, and nobody should take that away. It's very important to us. So that's what we mean by the red paper. If we were all citizens plus, we all become global citizens. We all look at the environment as something that we need to cherish. We're all treaty people, like my friend Cowboy Smith would say. How do you become citizens plus? Care for the earth. Look at global warming. Look what's happening in Australia. Look what's happening everywhere around the world. Consider your future generations, because we're only renting the land from them. Support renewable energy. That's where we can make a difference. Remember, respect all of our relations. Learn about the history of Indigenous people where you live, and appreciate diversity. Man, talking to international students, I love them. When I go to their classes, I get the goosebumps because they just want to know more and more. So really, really appreciate that. Lastly, talk about colonization and what it did to our worldviews. We need to create ethical space. Here at Bow Valley College, we have ethical space. Use it. Go there. Go to Nikokan. Ini Buffalo Guns Lodge, Buffalo Lodge. Learn what you can. Go out on the land. Take advantage of all the unique opportunities that Bow Valley gives us to get out there. With that, I would like to thank Tahira. Awesome. And, I know I was first, maybe with a little bit longer. Jen, really great. Again, thank you very much for having me today, and we'll see you soon.